I thought I was just tired until I almost fell. I used to think it was nothing that moment when I'd rise from my chair and feel slightly off balance. Just a little fatigue, I told myself. Maybe I stood up too fast. Maybe I hadn't eaten enough. So I brushed it off, again and again. Then came the moment I couldn't ignore. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was walking through my living room with a folded blanket in my arms. Nothing out of the ordinary until my foot caught the edge of a rug I'd stepped over 100 times before. In a flash, my body lurched forward. My heart raced. I barely caught myself on the armrest of the couch. And that shook me. It wasn't a dramatic fall, but it was enough to change everything. Because at that moment, I realized this wasn't just about tiredness or bad luck. Something deeper was happening. My balance, the very foundation of how I move through life, was slipping away without warning. That's why this video matters. Today, I want to take you through 8 surprising habits and everyday mistakes that quietly chip away at your stability. Some of them seem harmless. Others may feel like part of normal aging. But together, they form a pattern, one that you can interrupt starting today. If any of this feels familiar, comment 1. If it doesn't, comment 0. I truly want to hear from you. If this message speaks to your heart, please subscribe and ring the bell so we stay connected on this healing journey. Mistake number 1. The myth of just getting old. They said it's age, but it wasn't that simple. For years, every time I mentioned feeling a little weak in the knees or struggling to balance while stepping out of the shower, I got the same response. Well, that's just part of getting old. And for a while, I accepted that. I thought, maybe this is what life after 60 is supposed to feel like: a little slower, a little shakier, a little less certain. But deep down, something in me resisted that answer. You see, I remember my grandmother, in her late 70s, walking to church every Sunday in low heels with a straight back and a steady step. I remember how she laughed, lifted bags of groceries, and moved through the world with quiet confidence, not like someone who was falling apart. So I started to wonder, what if it's not just aging? What if there's more to this story? And there is. Doctors now understand that many of the symptoms we blame on old age, muscle loss, fatigue, dizziness, even joint pain, aren't inevitable. They're often the result of inactivity, poor hydration, imbalanced medications, lack of strength training, and even small things like poor lighting at home. These aren't fate. They're factors we can influence, and that knowledge alone is empowering. The danger is when we label everything as aging. We stop looking for solutions. We accept decline instead of asking questions. We adapt to a smaller, less active life, not realizing we have a say in how we age. We tell ourselves this is normal, and then it becomes our reality. It wasn't until I started gently challenging that narrative with small steps like balance exercises, better shoes, and reviewing my medications that I realized I wasn't broken. I was just neglected by the story I'd been told. And you know what? That made me angry, but also hopeful. Because if part of the struggle is the story, then part of the solution is rewriting it. You and I don't have to live under the weight of "it's just age." We can replace that with a new sentence. It's age and I still have power. Have you ever been told it's just aging, even when your gut said otherwise? Comment 1 if you've experienced that dismissal, or 0 if not. I'd love to hear. Now let's move to something we often overlook: the silent hazards hiding inside our own homes. Mistake number 2. When your house becomes a hidden danger. Home, the place I felt safest, was quietly hurting me. There was a time when I thought, at least I'm safe at home. No traffic, no stairs to climb, no icy sidewalks to slip on. Just the familiar comfort of my space, my armchair, my kitchen tiles, my bathroom rug, all things I'd known and trusted for decades. But one quiet morning, as I carried a laundry basket from my bedroom to the living room, my foot caught the edge of a rug I'd stepped over thousands of times before, and I went down hard. No one was home. No one saw me fall. And for those few terrifying seconds, lying there on the floor, I felt something I hadn't felt before: powerless. I didn't break a bone, but I bruised more than my body. I bruised my confidence. That was the day I realized something no one ever warned me about: the most familiar places can become the most dangerous when you're not paying attention. Because as we age, our reaction time slows, our depth perception changes, and the things that were once second nature, like stepping over a small rug or reaching for a pan, become silent hazards. I began looking at my house with new eyes. The rug by the door, a tripping trap, the bathroom mat, it slipped too easily, the hallway dim and shadowy at night, the kitchen cabinet where I stored heavy pots too low, forcing me to bend and strain. These weren't just flaws, they were risks. So I made small changes. I replaced loose rugs with grippy, non-slip mats. I added motion sensor nightlights in the hallway and bathroom. I installed grab bars next to the toilet and in the shower, not because I had fallen there, but because I didn't want to. I reorganized the kitchen so the items I use most are at waist height. I even added a second railing to the staircase, so I have support on both sides. None of it was expensive, but every change gave me back a piece of freedom and peace of mind. It's strange, isn't it? The home that once cradled us in safety begins to require protection itself. Not because we are weak, but because we're wise enough to anticipate what could happen. And here's what I learned. Safety isn't about bubble wrapping your world. It's about thoughtful, loving adjustments that protect your independence. Have you ever tripped over something in your own home? Share your story, someone else might learn from it too. Next, let's talk about something deceptively simple: the shoes we wear, because what's under your feet might be quietly working against you. Mistake number 3, the shoes that betrayed me. I loved how they looked until they made me fall. For the longest time, I believed that if my shoes were comfortable and cute, they were good enough. I had my favorite pair: soft, slip-on flats with little bows on the toes. I wore them almost everywhere: to the grocery store, around the house, even on short walks. They felt light. They matched everything. They made me feel like I still had a little style left in me. And then came the day they betrayed me. It was a warm spring afternoon. I had stepped outside to water the plants. The walkway was familiar, dry, and flat. But as I turned to go back inside, my heel slid just slightly and I wobbled. My ankle twisted, and I stumbled into the side railing. No one saw, but my heart was pounding. That was when I realized those lovely little shoes had no grip, no support, no structure. They weren't helping me walk, they were silently increasing my risk of falling. What I've learned since then is something every woman over 60 deserves to know. Our feet change with age, and so must our shoes. The fat pads under our heels and toes thin out, our arches weaken, the ligaments that once gave us bounce and flexibility begin to lose their strength. So wearing the same types of shoes we wore in our 30s, even if they still fit, can actually harm us. And the biggest danger: most of these changes happen so gradually that we don't even notice until it's too late. Here's what helped me turn things around. Firm soles with good traction. No more smooth, worn-down bottoms. I started looking for shoes with textured rubber outsoles that grab the ground. Proper ankle and arch support. My new shoes hug my feet. They don't flop around or leave me guessing where my step will land. Cushioned insoles. Memory foam or gel inserts make walking feel more secure and less jarring on the joints. Snug but not tight fit. A shoe that's too loose will trip you. One that's too tight can cause numbness or blisters. I know what you might be thinking, but supportive shoes look ugly. That's what I thought too, until I discovered how much the market has changed. I now have a beautiful pair in soft gray with floral trim. They don't look orthopedic, but they feel like protection. Even at home, I've changed my habits. No more soft, floppy slippers. I wear supportive indoor shoes with anti-slip soles. I haven't slipped since. Do you wear shoes mainly for comfort or for safety? Or have you found the perfect pair that offers both? Share in the comments. Next, let's talk about the one thing that quietly slips away as we age and affects everything from walking to standing up strength. Mistake number 4, the truth about weak legs. I didn't notice until I couldn't get up without my arms. It started gradually. I didn't realize it at first. I just began leaning more on the armrests of the sofa when standing up. Then, I began avoiding low chairs altogether. I told myself it was just easier that way, more convenient, but one day I dropped a book on the floor, bent to pick it up, and couldn't get up without grabbing onto the side table. That moment startled me. When did my legs stop working the way they used to? The truth is, I hadn't lost my strength overnight. It had quietly faded day by day, year by year as I stopped doing the things that used to challenge it. You see, after 50, we naturally begin losing muscle mass, a process called sarcopenia. It can begin as early as our 40s, but it speeds up with age, especially if we're inactive. That weakness isn't just about strength, it's about confidence, mobility, independence. And here's what no one tells you. It's not too late. When I first heard the word strength training, I imagined a gym full of weights and sweaty machines. I pictured young athletes, not someone in her 60s with stiff knees and a fear of falling. But the reality is, strength can be rebuilt at any age. It's not about lifting heavy, it's about waking your muscles up again. I started small. While brushing my teeth, I did gentle squats. While watching TV, I lifted soup cans or pressed my legs against the floor. I stood on my toes to reach shelves on purpose, not just for the item, but for the effort. And slowly, something shifted. My legs began to feel alive again. I could stand without bracing myself. I walked up hills without gasping. Even my posture changed. I stood taller, more proud. But more than anything, I felt capable again, like my body was mine again. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need perfect knees or special equipment. You just need intention and patience. Have you ever struggled to rise from a chair or climb stairs lately? You're not alone. Comment 1 if you felt it or 0 if not yet. Next, we'll look at something else affecting balance, not in your legs, but in your eyes. Mistake number 5. Vision, the balance you don't see. My fall wasn't from clumsiness, it was from my eyes. I used to think my vision was good enough. I could read the labels on soup cans and spot my neighbor walking across the street, so I didn't worry too much about my glasses or how often I had my eyes checked. I figured, if I can still see the TV remote, I'm fine. But vision isn't just about clarity, it's about orientation, depth, movement, and contrast, things I didn't fully understand until the night I fell. It was around 2 a.m. I got up to use the bathroom. The hallway was dim, like it always was. I didn't turn on the lights because I didn't want to wake my husband. As I stepped around the corner rug, I misjudged the edge and caught my toe. My body pitched forward, and I slammed my knee into the hardwood floor. The pain was sharp, but what hurt even more was the realization that my own home wasn't as safe as I believed, and that my eyes had let me down. That fall made me finally pay attention. I scheduled a full eye exam, and sure enough, my prescription had changed. But there was more. The doctor explained that as we age, even small changes in vision can throw off our balance. Blurred depth perception, less contrast sensitivity, slower focus in dim light, they all make it harder for our brains to accurately judge space and movement. And without clear visual signals, the body guesses often incorrectly. He suggested a few simple changes that change everything. Updated glasses with anti-glare coating and lenses tailored for low-light conditions. Plug in night lights in every hallway and bathroom, so shadows never play tricks on me again. Bright, warm LED bulbs in the kitchen and bedroom. I had no idea how much safer a well-lit space could feel. Regular lens cleaning. Smudges and tiny scratches can distort your view more than you think. These changes didn't just improve my vision, they improved my confidence. I walk more comfortably at night now. I don't hesitate on stairs or curbs, and I no longer fear the dark corners of my own home. Most of all, I stopped treating my eyesight as an afterthought, because our eyes are part of our balance system just as vital as our legs and feet. When was the last time you had your vision checked, if it's been over 2 years? Let me gently suggest it might be time. Now, Let's talk about something that sneaks up even more quietly than blurry vision, the effects of medication on your balance. Mistake number 6. Medication. The hidden side effect. The pill helped my heart, but hurt my balance. I used to think medication side effects were just something you read in tiny print on the bottle, the kind of thing that happened to other people. I never imagined that the very pills meant to protect me could quietly make me more vulnerable. It started after my doctor adjusted my blood pressure medication. A small change, just a lower dose of something I had taken for years. But soon after, I began feeling strange, not sick exactly, just off. I stood up and felt the room shift. I found myself reaching for the wall more often. I moved slower, more cautiously, but I didn't connect the dots, not yet. Then one evening, I stood up too quickly from the couch and nearly tumbled forward. My body felt like it hesitated a second too long before responding. My heart was fine, but my balance was gone. That night, I finally looked up the side effects of the new medication. May cause dizziness, fatigue, unsteadiness. There it was in plain print. It hadn't been aging. It hadn't been clumsy. It was chemistry. What I learned that week changed the way I relate to my health. Because as we age, our bodies process medication differently. A dosage that worked fine at 50 might be too strong at 65. And when you're taking multiple prescriptions, side effects can stack and overlap in ways no one warns you about. So here's what I did. I wrote down every single medication, supplement, and vitamin I take and brought that list to my next doctor's appointment. I spoke up clearly and without shame about what I was feeling. My doctor adjusted the dosage, and within days the dizzy spells vanished. Sometimes the solution isn't more medicine, it's a better conversation. We often trust our doctors completely, and we should, but we also have to trust ourselves. Because no one lives in our body but us. And sometimes a symptom isn't aging, it's a whisper from within, asking us to pay closer attention. Have you ever noticed a strange effect after starting or changing a medication? Comment 1 if yes or 0 if not yet. You might help someone else feel seen. Next, we'll talk about a habit that many of us adopt without thinking furniture walking and why it may be time to embrace support with grace. Mistake number 7, the stigma of support. Why I feared the cane. I thought using a cane meant giving up. It didn't. For months, I had been furniture walking. That's what they call it when you subconsciously reach for chairs, countertops, or walls just to steady yourself as you move around the house. At first, I didn't even notice. I would rest my hand on the back of the dining chair while passing by, lean slightly on the kitchen counter while chopping vegetables, and use the hallway wall to guide me at night. It felt normal, convenient, subtle, but what it really was fear. I was afraid of falling, but I was more afraid of being seen as fragile. You see, I had this image in my mind that using a cane meant I had crossed some invisible line, that I was no longer strong, no longer independent, no longer me, and I carried that fear for far too long. Then came a day I'll never forget. I was walking from the bedroom to the laundry room with a basket of clothes in my arms. My hands were full, so I couldn't reach out for balance. I stepped onto the tile, slightly off center, and the basket shifted. I tilted, my foot twisted, and I nearly crashed into the cabinet. That moment scared me more than I expected. Not because of the stumble, but because I had no way to stop it. My arms were busy. There was nothing to grab, and for a split second, I realized I was relying on luck to stay safe. That evening, I searched online and found a cane, lightweight, beautiful, with a soft floral print that didn't scream old. I ordered it, and when it arrived, I sat with it for a long time, just holding it, wondering what it meant. And you know what it meant. It meant I was choosing safety. I was choosing freedom. I was choosing to support myself, literally and emotionally. Using the cane didn't make me feel old. It made me feel stronger, more balanced, more confident. I moved with ease instead of hesitation. I walked taller, and I stopped clinging to furniture like a lifeline. Support isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And if you're still walking from wall to wall, using tables as railings, or slowing down because of fear. Maybe it's time to choose support too. Have you ever avoided using a cane or walker because of what it might say about you? Comment 1 if yes or 0 if you've already made peace with it. Now let's talk about something most of us don't even know. We can train our sense of balance. Yes, it can be rebuilt one quiet step at a time. Mistake number 8, rebuilding balance, one step at a time. I didn't know I could retrain balance until I did. Balance, such a simple word. We think of it as something we either have or we don't. But no one ever told me balance was something I could train like a skill, like a muscle, like a sense that can grow stronger with care. For the longest time, I believed that losing my balance was just another part of getting older. I thought it was something to accept, to tiptoe around, literally. I avoided gravel paths, uneven sidewalks, and stepping over puddles. I moved slower, hesitated more, and in my heart, I quietly mourned the freedom I didn't even realize I'd lost. Then, at a senior wellness class one morning, something changed. The instructor, a kind man in his 40s, had us all stand behind our chairs. He said, "We're going to start with a simple exercise, just stand on one foot." I laughed. I thought it was silly, but when I lifted my right foot, even an inch, I wobbled. My arms flailed. I felt completely unsteady. I wasn't weak. I just hadn't practiced balance in years. That moment opened my eyes. Balance isn't something you either have or lose. It's something you can rebuild. So I began gently. I started brushing my teeth standing on one foot. I walked heel to toe down the hallway. I stood with my eyes closed for 10 seconds a day, and slowly, my body began to respond. The wobbles became steadiness. The fear became familiar. I no longer panicked when stepping off curbs or walking across gravel. The most surprising moment one morning in the kitchen, music playing softly. I found myself dancing, not for anyone, just for me, because I could, because I felt sure of my own steps again. That's the gift of balance. It's not just physical, it's emotional freedom. If you've been avoiding movement, I invite you start small. Even 5 minutes a day makes a difference. You don't need fancy equipment or a special room, a sturdy chair, your hallway, your breath, that's enough. Have you ever tried balancing exercises at home? Comment 1 if yes or 0 if not yet. I'd love to know where you're starting from. Now let's finish with a quiet but powerful habit that affects balance more than you might expect: hydration. Yes, water. Though my steps had grown steadier, something quiet was still shaking my balance, not my shoes, not my eyes, but a forgotten glass of water. Yes, sometimes it's dehydration, something so small, so overlooked that leaves us dizzy, disoriented, and far more vulnerable to falling than we realize. Mistake number 9. When water becomes medicine, I wasn't dizzy from weakness, I was simply dehydrated. Though my steps had grown steadier, something quiet was still shaking my balance, not my shoes, not my eyes, but a forgotten glass of water. Yes, sometimes it's dehydration, something so small, so overlooked that leaves us dizzy, disoriented, and far more vulnerable to falling than we realize. For most of my life, I never thought twice about water. If I was thirsty, I drank. If not, I didn't. Simple. But aging changes everything, even thirst. What I didn't know, until my doctor told me, is that as we grow older, our thirst signal weakens. Our body may need water, but it stops shouting about it. Instead, it whispers, and we miss it. I began noticing little signs: waking up with a dry mouth, feeling lightheaded when I stood up too fast, headaches in the afternoon, even that annoying fogginess where I couldn't quite think clearly. I thought it was just tiredness, until the day I nearly collapsed while unloading groceries. That night, I realized I had barely drunk 2 glasses of water all day. The next morning, I made a decision. I set a goal: at least 6 to 8 cups of actual water, not just tea, not just coffee, but water. And to keep it simple, I kept a glass in every room next to the bed, on the kitchen counter, by my favorite chair. Within a week, the difference was striking. My energy returned. The headaches faded. I slept better. My steps felt lighter and my thoughts sharper. Who knew that something so basic could be so powerful? But here's the catch, not all liquids count the same. Caffeinated drinks like coffee and black tea can dehydrate you more than hydrate you. So can sugary juices, herbal teas, broths, and plain water are best. If you're like me and don't love the taste of water, try this: add lemon slices, cucumber, or mint. Use a fun glass you enjoy holding. Drink a cup before every meal, make it part of the routine. Set a timer on your phone every few hours. And remember, if you're feeling dizzy, sluggish, or unsteady, it may not be weakness or illness. It might just be dehydration in disguise. Hydration is one of the cheapest, easiest, and most overlooked tools we have for protecting balance and restoring vitality. Do you know how many cups of water you drink per day? Comment 1 if you track it, or 0 if, like me, you never really noticed until now. Now let's take a final look not at our bodies, but at our surroundings. Because sometimes the greatest threat to our balance isn't inside us, but all around us, hidden in plain sight. Mistake number 10. Living in a fall-friendly home. We spend most of our lives building a home that reflects who we are: warm, familiar, full of comfort and memories. But as the years pass, something unexpected happens. The home we once moved through with ease can quietly turn into a place full of hidden hazards. It doesn't announce itself. There's no siren or warning. Just 1,000 little risks that blend into the background until one day they don't. For me, the moment came in the most ordinary way. I was carrying a laundry basket and didn't see the edge of a rug I'd walked over for 20 years. My foot caught, and I fell hard, not just onto the floor, but into a new awareness. My beloved home wasn't working for me anymore. In some ways, it was working against me. That was hard to accept. I had always prided myself on keeping a tidy, welcoming house. But now it needed to become something else, not just beautiful, but safe. So I began with small changes: removed slippery rugs and replaced them with non-slip mats, taped down electrical cords and rearranged furniture to clear walking paths, added grab bars near the toilet and in the shower, not after a fall, but before one, installed motion sensor night lights in the hallway and bathroom, moved frequently used items to waist height so I wouldn't need to bend or climb. These weren't grand renovations. They were small acts of love for myself, for my safety, for my peace of mind. At first, I worried, would making these changes feel like giving in? Would they make my house feel like a hospital? But the opposite happened. With every adjustment, I felt more free, not less. And when my granddaughter came over and ran safely through the hallway, I smiled. These changes didn't just protect me. They protected her too. Here's what I want you to know. A fall doesn't have to be part of your story. We can prevent it. We can prepare. And it starts by looking at your home through new eyes, not with fear, but with wisdom. So take a quiet walk through your space tonight. Look at it not as the place you once lived effortlessly, but as the place you now deserve to move through safely. What's one small change you've made or could make to feel safer at home? Comment below. You might inspire someone else. Now let's take a final moment together to reflect, to breathe, and to close this journey with the gentleness it deserves. You haven't lost your strength. You're just learning to walk differently now. Somewhere along the path of life, we start believing that slowing down is the same as giving up, that the body's quiet changes mean we should live smaller, safer, more cautiously. But I want to gently challenge that idea. Slowing down does not mean giving up. It means honoring a new rhythm. It means moving with awareness, not fear. It means adjusting our steps so we can still dance even if it's slower, even if it's just in the kitchen while waiting for the kettle to boil. This video wasn't just about balance and falling. It was about not falling for the story that we're done. The world tells us that past a certain age, our best days are behind us. But I disagree. I believe no. I know that some of the richest, most meaningful years of life happen when we stop racing and start noticing. Noticing what we need, noticing how we feel, noticing where we hurt and where we're still strong. You are not broken. You are becoming wiser, softer, clearer, more intentional. And that's why these 8 habits matter, because they remind us that aging isn't passive. It's a partnership between your body, your choices, and your courage. You see, your balance isn't just in your feet, it lives in your routines, your boundaries, your hydration, your rest, your self-talk, your vision, your strength, and the spaces you move through every day. And while each step might feel small, adjusting a rug, sipping more water, stretching before bed, each one is an act of self-respect. Each one is a quiet way of saying, I still matter. I still care for myself. I'm still here. So as we close this chapter, I want to invite you to do something gentle but powerful tonight. Before bed, sit down in your favorite chair, put your feet flat on the floor, and whisper a kind word to your body, the same body that has carried you through every decade, every season, every sorrow and celebration. Tell it, thank you for keeping me upright today. Thank you for trying your best. And if you're willing, write one small promise on a piece of paper. I will protect you. I will listen to you. I will not give up on you. Leave it on your nightstand as a reminder. You deserve that. What part of this journey today spoke to your heart the most? Please share in the comments, not just for me, but for someone else who may be reading, wondering if they're alone. They're not. You're not. And if this video brought you comfort, stay close. The next video will be about how to keep your memory sharp and your heart light even as the years grow richer. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tap the bell so we stay connected, because healing isn't a one-time moment. It's a path we walk quietly, steadily together. You haven't lost your strength. You're just learning to walk differently now, and you're doing beautifully, one step at a time.